Hey, morning, people. How we doing, man? It's a sunny day here in St. Kitts. I know some of y'all might be under some snow still. That's most unfortunate. I can't relate. What's the temperature like here? What's the temperature like? It is 26 degrees Celsius. Clear day. Wonderful. It's a bit windy though, so the water's a bit rough, so no beach for me later on. But who knows? Hopefully it dies down. I can go get a dip later. But I'm sorry for y'all who up in that goddamn cold weather. What up, Black? What up, Black? UGC Flame, the man himself, UGC. Black, if you want to jump on with me, my brother, you know I don't stay on for long, so I don't mind chopping it up with you, King, while I um, ramble my way through this topic here. Yeah, man, the topic today is what constitutes a big fight. Peace and power, Ayaba, Lisa Bales. Glad to have you as usual. What constitutes a big fight to boxing fans? Yesterday, I was privileged to be on with Black and the rest of his panel, and had brothers who's been on before. What's up, Black?
You know what it is.
You on the road again?
You already know what it is.
You are
What's up, Marco?
you always dashing going somewhere, man. You always on the road, man.
Yeah, man, gotta go get the bag, man.
Hey, that's what it is. So my stream today was basically based on the last few streams you've had that I've listened to and everything, and it's what constitutes a big fight in boxing these days. Like yesterday, my dude Marcus was on, cool guy, except when he gets on that PBC stuff, and I heard him say undisputed is not a big fight, but he's not the only person who I've ever heard say that. So I was going to ask him yesterday, well, what constitutes a big fight to you? Is it only with people who you like? Because if you're a boxing fan, isn't the pinnacle of boxing supposed to be the undisputed fight? Like you
Yeah,
have Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez coming up for undisputed. Am I wrong?
you're
But
correct, sir. You're correct.
boxing fans, for some reason, are not talking about. These people are more concerned about Errol Spence and Ugas. Errol Spence
Yeah,
gonna go 3 belts, but we got undisputed coming up. So I need to know in boxing what constitutes a big fight, right? Because I look at MMA, and we all know what the big fight is. The big fight is the championship fight. You know what I mean? MMA don't have all these other belts. Well, UFC has like interim belts or whatever, but they don't really have all these sanctioning bodies. None of those Bellator, none of those whatever, whatever. But we all know what's a big fight. When the champion fights the number one contender, the best next guy. That's a big
yeah,
fight, right? Or it might be a crossover fight between the two number ones in an upper and lower division. It might be that. That's true for all MMA. I remember watching Pride FC back in the day and K1 Heroes, and it was the same thing. It was always the championship fight, or if they would have like an absolute tournament where it was like open divisions, you'd see small guys fight big guys. But what constitutes a big fight to boxing fans? I watched Glory kickboxing the other day, and we all know what's a big fight. Whoever fights Rico Verhoeven, the next best guy, that's a big fight. You're not gonna see Rico Verhoeven fighting no scrub, and people call that a big fight in Glory kickboxing. It's not gonna happen. Everybody knows what's a big fight, but in boxing, for some reason, a big fight seems to have a lot of caveats to it. Is a person from where I'm from? Is a person from, is a person my color? What's a big fight? Like, let me ask you something, Black. Like at 168, if Canelo goes for undisputed, him and Caleb Plant, or Billy Joe and Caleb Plant, would that be a big fight to you?
I mean, it's the biggest fight for that division. You know what I mean? That's the biggest fight to make. It will be the biggest fight at 68. Say if it's for undisputed, that's the biggest fight. But we've had to do our part, our comb to make people still excited about undisputed and unifications. because if the small percentage of us, start making noise about unifications and undisputed, and then it'll be the Ryan Garcia situation. I'm
Mm.
the people's champ. I don't need no belts. Belts don't matter and all of this stuff. To where you devaluing belts, you devaluing the sport. And the sport becomes kind of what I heard that there was a recent report that Teofimo Lopez, shout out to LTBA, he back too. I saw him mention this on his live stream last night that Teofimo Lopez is saying stop with the YouTube boxing and all of that stuff. But that's what it's turning into, because you got these professionals that are trying to act like unification is not important no more, acting like undisputed is not important no more, and like how you asked, like what constitutes a big fight? Is it does it have to be your guy to get in there? Because like you said, I mean, it has so much enthusiasm, especially on American soil for undisputed when Deontay Wilder had the belt, the WBC belt, and he was saying he wanted to be one face, one name. So if their favorite fighter is not saying that they want to be undisputed or unified, that's not what they with. But real boxing fans, real enthusiasts, we know that is the biggest fight, to have in boxing. So shout out to Marcus, but for him to say that AJ and Wilder is still the biggest fight in boxing, over the Fury AJ, it's like like I said, that truck stop he filled up at, the fumes or something, that's bothering him because he's not
That's
thinking straight.
that's what I told him yesterday, bro. You can't be a boxing fan. You're not a boxing fan. You cannot be. You can let me tell you something. If Wilder had knocked out Anthony Joshua and Wilder was going to fight Fury for whatever, regardless if I like Anthony Joshua over Wilder, the Wilder versus Fury fight is the big fight. And I'm saying, like, fans can't sit here and allow their prejudices for whatever reason, prejudice based on location, prejudice based on skin color, prejudice whatever, prejudice based on if you like the dude's suit, walkout suit, whatever. You can't let that take away from your appreciation for the sport. You got Errol Spence all of a sudden, because remember, strap season, Errol Spence said strap season was over. Right? He ain't about that accomplishment. He said himself, like, he off that shut up and box shit. He said he been off that for a long time. And I'm like, as soon as Ugas got the belt, it was strap season again.
Yeah,
Right?
resurrected.
Kind of crazy to me. So it's just I don't really understand boxing fans, especially people who have watched more boxing than me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just realizing, like
Well,
yesterday, you spoke about Floyd Mayweather.
mm-hmm,
It's not so much Floyd. It's
mm-hmm,
these fans who
mm-hmm,
are not demanding that they fight to do certain things. Deontay Wilder, y'all claim that he was chasing Anthony Joshua all these years, but if you're chasing somebody and then you finally got him, because back then when you was chasing him, it wasn't undisputed. Like Parker had a belt still and whatever. Well, you said you were chasing him, and then AJ got the rest belts. You had the belts, and you claimed you was chasing him. You claimed you accepted these offers.
mm-hmm,
When it finally, it didn't happen then. When it finally crescendos to a pinnacle now,
mm-hmm.
because back in 2018, after that first Fury fight, to me the Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder hype pinnacle when he could have fought Joshua in 2019 at Wembley, when they booked out Wembley, when they did all that, like, yo, you fought Fury, you fought, you draw or whatever, cool, no problem. Let's go undisputed Wembley. That was when everything crescendoed, money was there, all of that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you still said no. And fans back that up.
Right. Facts. Hey, so Cole, you made a good point, and that was a good counter to the topic I had yesterday. But you look at it, yeah, man. Like we've seen in many cases where the fighter would change and do something, and the fans just give him a pass. And I know at that time I was flaming Floyd, but it wasn't enough black horsemen's out there bringing the flame to it. Like it was too many people giving him a pass because it's Floyd.
Mm.
Oh, he's on the man. He the pinnacle of the sport, man. He ain't got to prove nothing to these guys. Tell this guy to fight him. Hey, he need to fight Spence. Why? Because Floyd said it. So since Floyd said he got to fight Spence, he got to fight Spence. You know, even though Spence hadn't done none at the time, but that's what happens. You just said it. It's the fans' fault because we find out. That's how we got to this point where we learn who's really boxing fans and then the fanboys. You see what I'm saying? It's a whole
Mm,
different tribe. You got fanboy man fan tribes, and then you got real boxing fan tribes, and we get labeled as villains, and we embrace this shit at this point because we look at that other fanboy shit like that's some sucker shit. It's some sucker shit, and it's hurting boxing, and y'all making excuses and giving these guys passes when it was used to be about man up. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? And actually testing yourself, fighting the best guys in your division, not trying to cherry pick the dude below you. You know what I mean? Or jump up two weight classes to avoid the guy who's your mandatory, Kell Brook, or you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like,
Mm.
so that's when we learn, like, you know, we're different type of fans, but it's the majority of the fans are the fanatics and the hardcores is in the smaller percentage. And so uh that's how we get, you know, that's how we had these kind of wars and these type of situations where you got to have this topic right here. What actually qualifies as a goddamn big fight? You know, we got to literally talk about this and give people some light bulbs above their head. Like, oh, I guess Undisputed is the biggest. I guess Fury versus AJ is the biggest fight, bigger than Wilder and AJ. Yeah, the guy just got knocked out in his last fight. That's not big anymore, man. Stopped.
Yeah, man. The Wilder Anthony Joshua opportunity has gone way down now. Even if Joshua becomes undisputed, he's not going to fight Wilder for undisputed because if he comes undisputed this year, beats Fury twice or once, whatever, or Fury beats him, whatever, they're going to split. They're going to drop a belt, right? Wilder not going to get a chance to get that belt, and the money's gone down, bro. Like the pandemic has really the money's gone down. The money's not there no more. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? There ain't nobody overseas. I have never heard nobody overseas ask or try and build a stadium for Deontay Wilder. I ain't never heard nobody overseas had no bidding war for Deontay Wilder fight.
Well,
Never.
he didn't, you know what? He ain't even really tried to make no big fights happen in overseas.
No, there you
You
go.
know, he could have expanded his marketability. Like he could have fought Dillian White a long time ago, knocked him out, and now we could have talked about like Deontay Wilder could have been a way bigger quote unquote star than he is now. You know, but he wanted to hold on to Sophia and he wanted to hold on to North America and say he the world champ still, but he just fighting in one geographical location.
Tommy Temper says his definition is the best of the best, but everyone's best or favorite can be very subjective depending on casual or hardcore fans' ideas. So yeah, he says, it could be based on who you like. You know,
Yeah.
what's a big fight for me? But isn't there certain things that supersedes that? Like the sport itself supersedes your prejudices. You know what I'm saying? Like for instance, at 140, you might not like Teofimo, you might like Lomachenko. No, sorry, at 140, you might like some Prograis, but you might not like Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez. But you as a boxing fan would have to say, nah, I'm gonna watch Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez because this is for undisputed rights. Like there
Right.
should be certain things that supersede their personal prejudices. But I find in boxing, it's not possible. Like people just would be like, nah, I don't care. I don't care. It's undisputed, but I don't care. Like, okay, let me ask you something. Can it still be a big fight? Like, what would qualify a big fight if it's not undisputed?
What would
Like, for
qualify this
instance,
fight if it's not undisputed?
right, for you,
Well, you got like legends, like Pacquiao, it's a fight with him. You know, you can attach a name, a decent name to him. It's gonna be a big fight. Um, you got to be somebody who's already done something you know, major in the sport already. You know what I'm saying? Great resume. Of course, uh, I'm glad that Canelo's pursuing the undisputed because that keeps the sport alive. When you
Mm,
got a guy who want to see, and that's why I used to give him flame about the 160 stuff. Like, you know, when he said he wanted to be undisputed there, when you switched off and did franchise, now your fans think that this is something cool, this franchise crap. Now he back on track at 68, pushing for undisputed. You know what I mean? And that's good because now his fans and the hardcores know that like this is the biggest achievement. He gonna be the first Mexican to do it, and all of this, and this is historical. Let's see who the next person that could do the same thing Canelo did, unified division, become undisputed. So everybody know that's the biggest thing to do. But like guys like Canelo, like even if he wasn't pursuing undisputed because of his resume and his following and all of that, you put him in front of Abney Yildirim, they think that that's a big fight. So you know how that shit go, man.
right. For instance, like the Canelo thing, yeah, he went to fight Kovalev, but that was an alright fight. We knew you were not going to stay at 175. You just dropped the belt right after. So ultimately, that had no real lasting effects,
Mhm.
right? I was told that it's way more epic if he unifies the 168 division than 160, and I humbly disagreed with that. Um, if Canelo unified the 160 division, he would have gone to, in my opinion, better competition than
Yeah,
168,
yeah,
right? You beat
absolutely.
Danny Jacobs, took his belt.
Hmm.
You beat Andre. Take, remember, you're about to fight a man, Billy Joe Saunders, who ducked Andre twice. Who ducked Andre? Who's refused to fight Andre?
Refuse,
So,
bro.
so you're about to fight a dude who ducked Andre, and you have Jamal Charlo over there.
Hmm.
I think a undisputed 160
Would have
would
been
be
way better.
much tougher and much more prestigious than a
Yeah,
168
I'm
um,
glad you brought that up, Marcon. You're
undisputed.
right.
So I
So
disagree
he
with
may
that.
have took the low key easy undisputed road. I think he took the easier undisputed road at 68. 60 would have been that last little like you said, them two guys, especially with the Andrade work, that would have been great, man. You had Triple G down there that you beat at 60, Danny Jacobs, you know, he would have got Andrade on there. You know, it's come on, man. That would have been way better than a Caleb Plant and a Callum to me.
I
You
agree
know what
with
I'm
that.
saying? So
I agree with that. No, I disagree. So, these are the things that I disagree with. Like people can't put aside certain
mhm,
prejudices because they, for looking at the sport as a whole.
mhm.
I mean, the 168, like, was Canelo looking to unify 168 when David Benavidez had the belt? No, because he would have had
Damn,
to go through Callum Smith,
damn.
Benavidez,
Yeah,
Caleb Plant, and I guess Billy Joe,
Billy Joe. Yeah,
right?
right.
He wasn't looking to unify then. When as soon as the belt
That would have
became
been
available,
prestigious. You had David Benavidez in
there
there.
you
Like,
go,
yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
But what I'm saying. So I'm really confused with boxing fans sometimes. Boxing fans seem to sometimes, especially people who I think would know boxing, seemingly can't put aside their own personal prejudices for the sport.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I'm the voice of the sport, but there's some things to me that seem more obvious, right?
Hmm.
That's just me, you know.
Yeah.
So you have a situation now where you have, as I said, Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez about to go fight,
Hmm.
and I look at a lot of these hardcore channels, and I'm not seeing a lot of talk about this fight. So if that's not a big fight to y'all, like, is that not a
That's
big fight?
crazy. Bro. We're gonna get some heat to it. Hey, but you know what, too, man? Not only is the fans' fault, but you got the networks and things like that. Like they got to do their part to bring heavy promo to an undisputed match. It don't matter what division it's in. You know what I mean? Make that have the most promos so that you know people can still see that promoted. Like undisputed, you got all the guys. You got two guys with all the belts on the line for like the Super Bowl. Like this is the biggest fight for that division to find out who is the best at that weight class. Like that's what it's been about. You know what I mean? Like I want that. I don't want that part to go away. Where you got top guys, you got 4 or 5 top guys in the same division, and they will never fight. but they'll claim that they the best, Iron Kong. They say, I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm Free Smoke. I'm the boogeyman. But will never fight the other top guys in their division, though. You see what I'm saying? So that's why unifications and undisputed is important to find out who is the best. And then you got guys that don't even want to put themselves in that pool of the best. So they say, oh, whatever, the belts don't matter. Just totally just, exclude me from the race of this competition or this tournament of who the best is. I'm too good for this, man. Too good to try to prove to y'all that I'm the best in this division. See what I'm saying?
I'm the big dog.
I'm the big dog already. I already proved myself.
I'm the big dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, can a big fight, can it be a big fight if none of the two guys have belts?
Say again?
Can it be a big fight if none of the two guys have a belt?
None of the top two guys, like the top big names?
No, if two people are going to fight and none of the two have a belt,
I don't
can
see
it still
how it
be a big
is.
fight?
Like, I mean, when have we seen in history where that has been like a thing in boxing? Two guys, no belts on the line, going at it, and it's one of the heaviest promoted, top pay-per-view. When?
I don't know. People in the
When have we
chat,
seen it?
people in the chat, can it be a big fight if the two people who are fighting don't have a championship belt on the line? Can it still be considered a big fight? I'm trying to figure out today what constitutes a big fight in the minds of the average boxing fan. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all
It
can
could
let me
be
know.
big in the sense of, in a certain aspect of, get a lot of buzz, social media, whatever. But the biggest fights in boxing, we've seen belts on the line, man. Champs. So on some big champ shit. So I ain't never been excited about two guys that's scrapping that, like, and considered it a mega fight that didn't have belts on the line, man. That they wasn't champ. Two non-champions going head to head in front of the world for this mega event. What? Who is it? What champion are they? Are they WBA, WO champion? Which one? Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, which who you connected to? Who did you beat? What guys did you you know what I'm saying? Who did you beat to get to the top, to whether this is a mega fight? Like, I don't go for that. I don't go for that, man. So, Tank and say Ryan or something can fight, and just get in there and no belts on the line. Some people might consider that a big fight, but not to me.
Not to you. You don't think Ryan Garcia versus Tank would be a big fight?
In a certain aspect, like if it'll get a lot of buzz, a lot of social media buzz or whatnot, but comparing that to what? Like, say AJ and Fury, get up out of here. That is
nothing really compares to that. But okay, so Ryan Garcia versus Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia versus Tank. Which one of those are big fights to you?
Ryan Garcia. You say Ryan Garcia versus Tank, and then comparing that to Teofimo and Haney.
Right.
I gotta go Teofimo Haney. It's bigger.
It's bigger. But
do you think? And I think, and that's just off the back of what Teofimo did. You know what I mean? I'm giving him his respect. He came in with a lot of momentum, and it'll be big because of what he did. So young, he knocked off Lomachenko, and then to get Haney out of there, and knowing that, so that we can put all these circumstances to bed with the franchise crap and all that. This will be bigger. It'll be much bigger, and I think heavily more promoted.
Okay. Well, Unrivaled said Ali versus Frazier 2 was for the NABF belt. It was a non-world title fight. So maybe it is
when
possible.
They first fought, though. What happened when they first fought?
I don't know. You'll have to tell me. So maybe if the two fighters' names, I think you said it earlier before, if you already have a big name already, like a big name, then it don't really matter. Right? It don't really matter. Like a Manny Pacquiao versus
anybody.
Manny Pacquiao versus, if Manny Pacquiao and Floyd fought again, that would be ginormous. You know what I'm saying?
Did you say James again?
No. Huh? Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd.
Oh, Floyd, yeah,
If they
yeah,
fought again, that would be a ginormous fight.
right, right,
If Floyd, if like I see them, if they have Evander Holyfield and Tyson fight again, that fight would be,
yeah,
I mean, millions upon millions of dollars of views,
hmm,
right? But then those people have achieved a certain level of stardom, a certain
exactly,
level of fame in their active days by fighting for championship belts,
exactly,
right? So again, it's just what is considered a big fight because a lot of the people know who would watch that Evander Holyfield versus Mike Tyson, right? Because of what they did chasing Undisputed and doing all this and doing all this, are the ones know who are saying Undisputed don't matter. Don't fight him. Don't fight him. They're encouraging their favorite fighter no, not to fight this person.
yeah,
Give him 70-30 or whatever you want. You know what I'm
yeah, man,
saying? So they love the past guys for what they did and would support them still, but no are currently talking down on the same things. I'm trying to figure out people in the chat, anybody who just came, what constitutes a big fight in the minds of the average boxing fan? Because if undisputed fights are not big fights anymore, then boxing has a problem.
exactly.
Boxing has a problem. Um, Eddie Hearn, I think he wants to do the Billy Joe Saunders versus Canelo fight on the same. Him and Barbara might clash on the same day.
On the with the undisputed fight, right?
Yeah, it might clash.
That's what I'm saying. That's some crazy shit, huh?
Right. So we go if they do clash, we gonna see what's considered a big fight because Billy
Come
Joe
on, man.
Saunders versus Canelo, that ain't no big fight compared to an undisputed fight to me. Right. I might end up watching it because I don't
But
have
it's Canelo.
ESPN Plus. I can't catch ESPN Plus, or I can't get that down here. But I have the zone.
Damn.
Right.
So
So
you
we're
gonna
gonna
watch
see
Canelo?
what we're gonna see what's considered a big fight if they do clash. We're gonna see. Right.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's crazy that that's gonna be on the same day. You know, it's just basically competing against the undisputed, matchup. I mean, now it's still a unification though. Don't get me wrong. So
Yeah.
it still constitutes a big fight, but it's just terrible. Like, why would they have that on the same day, man? I don't like that at all because it takes attention away from the magnitude of that matchup between Ramirez and Taylor, and that should be on a platform in itself where you're not being overshadowed and overtaken from attention taken away from Canelo. This is Alvarez. So
Right.
how many people are there when you got Canelo fighting this?
Yeah, you're gonna have a problem.
Like, I don't know if that was a strategic or whatever competitive thing to go against ESPN top rank what they got going or what, but I ain't feeling that, you know. I think that okay, cool. Canelo, you're not, unifying with Billy Joe. That's cool too. That deserves a day in itself. But Ramirez and Taylor, they deserve their own day in itself. I wouldn't even want AJ and Fury to be on the same day as that. Like, let them have their separate days of glory and shine because whoever win between Ramirez and Taylor, nobody gonna give a fuck about because Canelo gonna probably body bag Billy Joe or whatever. That fight is gonna be taking attention away from it. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, and in other news, also on the same day as Canelo, winner out of Ramirez and Taylor, you know, undisputed there. But Canelo's performance, though, you know how they're gonna do.
What's up, Mark?
Morning, good evening, afternoon.
Morning, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. Not doing too bad.
I see a comment here. Mark said a big fight is the one the people get told they want and they're willing to buy it like Jones. Essentially, whoever can sell their fight the best, that's a big fight.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the way it's gone. I mean, let's be real. Let's be real. If they can sell Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis and put it up against Josh Taylor Ramirez and it does more boys or whatever, it's the bigger fight, whether we like it or not. Whatever sells more is bigger. Whatever does more viewing is bigger. You can't say, yo, this has more titles on the line. Let's take, for example, I don't know, I can put two fights up against each other. Tyson Fury versus Wilder, 2. Versus Lomachenko and Teofimo. One had more belts on the line. One was a pound for pound fight. One did less in terms of revenue overall.
Hey, but I would say this too. It's all about perspective because somebody could say bigger, but in the sense of meaningful, somebody can become undisputed, and then Tank and Ryan can probably fight the same day. Yeah, it might be bigger money wise and popular wise, but shoot, legacy wise, it might not mean shit. You know what I mean? So bigger in the sense that somebody's doing something big for their career, getting into an undisputed match, or unifying something like that. That's bigger moves. That's big champ shit overall, because that's gonna be more remembered than some knockoff champs, or you know what I'm saying? Regular champs or knockoff champs going at it for a payday.
So
I wish that were true. I actually wish that were true. I wish that was a very true statement. You know that the most memorable fights outside of certain ones are normally ones that were like pushed. They were pushed by different things. I mean, let's not be real, but does anybody here remember? Does anyone here really remember Raphael Lemon and Boza Edwards fighting? Really, do they remember those fights, which were sick fights? Sick fights of the year. People don't remember them. The mainstream fights are always the biggest. Always.
Yo, what up?
Let me ask you something. Because I see David Benavidez working hard and whatever. No, I don't know what's wrong with Callum Smith's arm, if he's done or whatever, but if Callum Smith is fine, he's coming off a Canelo loss. David Benavidez versus Callum Smith at 160. Is that a big fight to y'all? Could that be talked up?
You say, is it a big fight? I mean, it just depends on what you're comparing it to. I mean, yeah, it's a watchable fight. People gonna pay to see it.
It's not even a title fight.
But ask the question: can a fight be, if it's two good fighters? Does it depend then also, as you said, Mark? How well can a promoter sell the fight? How well can a promoter, package this fight to the public, right?
You can't
Are there certain fights that no matter who's fighting cannot be packaged as a big fight? Because hold on, Callum Smith, former champ, David Benavidez, former champ. These are two people that were supposed to fight. In my opinion, Avni Yildirim was not supposed to. It was supposed to be Callum, right? Because Avni Yildirim got whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Can that fight at all be packaged as a main event fight?
No.
Yeah.
Well, it can be packaged as a main event.
Benavidez versus Callum Smith can be packaged as a main event fight.
Well, the question got changed. Originally, it was asked, is it a big fight, and then is it a main event, which are two different things.
Okay, well, fine. Either are. You tell me.
Yeah, it can be packaged as a main event. It'll probably do average, very average, and it'll be thought of as average. And that's just how it is. Unless the Mexican fan base get behind Benavidez in that fight. But, Callum's never been big in the UK. He's been mediocre in the UK. David's kind of rising. But like you say, two former champions who haven't really done great viewing figures as champions. So then they fight each other. Is it bigger than Callum Smith versus Canelo? No. Is it bigger than Callum Smith versus George Groves? Probably not.
IOTBA says, yes, Iron, that is a big fight. So ITBA disagrees with y'all, man. So that's a big fight.
Big fight. What's a big fight?
No, we see, Mark, let me tell you where this topic stems from. Been listening to Black Stream for the last few days, and he's had some people on. And they've been adamant that no one wants to see Fury Joshua. That's not the biggest fight. The biggest fight is still Joshua versus Wilder. And I'm realizing, and I'm saying, how could an undisputed fight not be the biggest fight? So it's like, and I'm seeing Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez, not really getting a lot of push and a lot of attention. Again, another undisputed fight. And I'm saying, how is it undisputed now to boxing? Undisputed used to be the pinnacle, the crescendo of everything. Undisputed. That's the fight you market, right? But I'm seeing things like undisputed lose sort of its shine. I'm seeing things like people unifying webs lose its shine. And I'm wondering, in boxing fans' minds, well, what is now considered a big fight? Like, if it's not undisputed, if it's not, big unifications, and what is it? I'm really trying to figure it out because I'm not like, y'all are much more involved in the boxing community than me. What is considered a big fight then? I need to know because I've watched a lot of combat sport other than boxing. And everybody knows what is a big fight. The champion fights is the next best person. That's a big, they don't consider other things. You know what I'm saying? But boxing seems to be different now.
Fury versus Joshua is bigger than Wilder versus Fury. It's bigger. It's going to sell more. It's going to sell more.
No, he said Wilder versus Joshua is still the biggest fight.
No, it's not. Because the British audience out there, they're not interested in Wilder. It's only big to the American audience. You need both sides. And at the end of the day, the American audience, with Wilder specifically, haven't shown that they're willing to support him financially to that extent yet. I mean, your biggest fight, you do 800,000 pay-per-view, boys. That's your best. That's your best. Other than that, you've cleared 250K once. Come on. Get out and actually support the man if you want him to be in what's the biggest fight. Otherwise, if you're comparing him to a dude who's set to do 3.5 million pay-per-views is what they're saying Joshua Fury will do, and that's on the low side of the estimations, and that actually seems very reasonable in the UK. It's going to blow pay-per-view records in the UK. It's got Saudi Arabia. It's got, I think, a grand audience so far who've tweeted or Google searched this fight in only the last 2 weeks. Reaches in excess of 555 million people since they mentioned that the fight would be happening. 500 billion people. Did you know that in 6 months of Fury Joshua back to back, not Fury Joshua, Wilder Joshua back to back, there was 400 million searches. So that was over 6 months versus 1 month, and it's already destroyed that. Sorry, dude. Like, those people are living in a fantasy, bro.
Is Errol Spence versus your Denny Ugas unification a big fight?
Sorry, what?
Perhaps easy.
Is what?
Is the big fish Errol Spence versus your Denny Ugas a big fight? It's a unification. It's 2 belts.
No, it's a unification, but no, it's not really a big fight. See, big fights, actual big fights, are the marquee fights. That's what a big fight is. That's the truth. Nobody really. If you could go out on the street and find 5 random people on the road who can tell me who Yordenis Ugas is, I'll call it a big fight. I can go out on the road right now and get 5 people to tell me who Fury and Joshua are. I can do that.
So both names, both opponents, both guys gotta have names, right?
For it to be a big fight, yeah, of course.
But Canelo can fight. Hold on, real quick. But Canelo and Pacquiao can pretty much fight anybody. It's a big fight, though. It's just about I think it just depends on the name.
No, it's a big fight. It's a big fight for their fans. You see, Canelo can fight just about anybody, right? Was Canelo Liam Smith a big fight? No. It did 300,000 pay-per-view, boys. It did 300,000 pay-per-view, boys.
I mean, in this era, shit, that's pretty damn good. Scrap season numbers right there.
I mean, for Errol, yeah, sure. That'd be good numbers for Errol. That'd be great numbers for Errol.
You did Errol numbers. That's big fish numbers right there, dog.
Yeah, but Canelo's an A side. That's the thing. Canelo's an A side. Errol's not an A side. He thinks he is, but he's not. An A side was never, hey, yo, I do 15,000 more views than you. I'm A side. Errol has leverage over him. He's not an A side.
It's just interesting to me. I'm really trying to. Educate. No, he's saying he has leverage. He has some leverage, but he's not A side. Like, explain what you mean, Unreal. Explain what you mean.
He's not A side.
Yeah. If you're the A side, that means that's it. You're the A side. You can demand what you want. You can make fighters go to your country. You can make fighters go to whatever state you want. Any type of drug testing you want. You're this amount of money on the fucking bill, aka Canelo. Everybody's going to Texas, Florida, Nevada to fight Canelo. They're going from the UK to fight. Hold on. They're going from the UK to fight Canelo. Canelo is the A side in terms of pay-per-views. Canelo is making them do weight shit. Canelo is making them do all of this shit. Errol Spence has leverage because he's sold a few more thousand. He's done a little tiny bit
that's
better.
Like some A side type shit.
Huh? I'm sorry. Black, are you cutting off or something? Do you not know what I'm talking about?
All right, come on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought he's saying I'm breaking up.
Matt, go ahead. Matt, go ahead. Just explain. Go ahead.
Yeah. Errol Spence has a little bit of A side over Crawford. Crawford's done slightly better overall.
So he is A side now. He got a little bit of A side in him.
What?
No, I guess what he's saying is because
I'm talking about leverage. Can you let me speak, dude? Instead of trying to cut me off, you're making yourself look ignorant.
Oh, you kind of contradict yourself. Go ahead.
Have you got a problem, Black? Black, have you got a problem?
Go ahead. No, let's not go. Let's not do that.
Darrell, have you got a problem?
Do you got a problem?
You seem to, dude. You ain't listening. I'm telling you, Errol has a bit of leverage over Bud. You're not letting me say it.
You contradicted yourself. You said,
how did I contradict myself?
You said was Errol Spence not A side, then you said he a little bit of A side over Crawford. That's what you said.
He's got a little bit of A side. Can you let me finish and make the point instead of trying to use one word and one term, right? A little bit of A side, a little bit of leverage. He's not an actual A side. I already explained what a full-on A side is. He's using A side tactics whilst he has a little bit of leverage. Let me get my points across. You're not actually as smart as you think you are, dude. You're literally making. I'm about to.
All right, let's not.
I'm about to defend Bud. I'm literally about to defend Bud.
Order. Parliamentary procedure. Order.
What happens?
Order. Hold on. Order.
That man is so my telling. You're not as smart as you think you are.
Black. Hold on.
No, you're not.
Black. Hold on.
You're not. You're feminine, Black. You're feminine.
Hey, whoa. Mute. Everybody mute. Let me be real with y'all, man.
Bro, I came to support you. I don't care about this dude.
No, I got you. Hold on. I muted both of y'all. I want y'all to not get into that on the thing right now. Black, let him finish. He'll finish, and then you go in. But I don't want y'all to go back and forth. I have both of y'all on mute, and I don't like doing this because it's disrespectful. I don't like that. Let's not get into personal snipes and all this with each other. Please. I beg and I. You check? Order. Parliamentary procedure. Mark, finish. And Black, you come in after. And then y'all can, but no personal snipes and all that go. Come on now. Mark, go ahead.
Don't behave like
let him speak, man. Go ahead.
Oh.
I just have to say, stop spatially behaving, bro. Straight up.
Matt,
but anyway, Errol Spence is using leveraging tactics, calling it A side. That's the long story short. If you're really an A side, prove it in the boardroom. Let people finish what they got to say. Let everybody get all their points out in the boardroom, in discussions, because that's the only place it'll be done. Until now, everybody's just going to be acting like a bitch, really. They're going to be saying, this is A side, this is B side, this is this guy doing this guy doing that. I don't really care anymore. He's not really an A side. He's using what he thinks is A side tactics. It's just leveraging in a position. He's got a little bit of leverage because he's done a little bit more successfully pay-per-view wise, but he's done less views. That's the long story short of it.
Black, go ahead. Black still there? I guess Black's gone. I don't know what's happening. Anywho, well, I don't know, man. I mean, the whole Errol Spence situation is kind of interesting to me, and it's just kind of like funny because if we say Ugas is not a big fight for Spence because nobody really knows Ugas, right? I'm really questioning then how is it that I see people now saying like the Canelo versus Yildirim is a big fight, because it's some kind of unification, but then Canelo versus Andre wasn't a big fight because Andre didn't fight nobody knows what Andre it is. And I'm like, so, well, what really constituted? Because then if that's a big fight with Abner Yildirim because of unification, it should have been a big fight with Demetrius Andre. But somehow both things are not the
Yildirim's
same.
not a unification; it's a title defense.
Or whatever it is, man. I mean, it's gonna turn out as a big fight. How is Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders, a guy who ducked Andre twice, a bigger fight? Like, it's just again asking, what is the
Both of
difference?
them
Like,
dug
is it
Andrade.
based, huh?
Both of them dug Andrade.
Both of them
And they
duck
both
Andre.
pop. And they both pop for PEDs. So it's a good fight, man. That's a big fight, right? It's a big fight, bro. It's
Yeah.
gonna make a lot of money. It's gonna sell. It's probably gonna do better than Viva Canelo.
Black, you breaking up. What's that?
And level all of that. A side for yo.
Black, you breaking up
I'm breaking up.
badly.
Let me relocate, dog.
Yeah, please, Bridget. So yeah, man, this whole topic today is about what constitutes a big fight in boxing. What's important to you? What would you pay for? Is it based on your location? Like Mark, would an Irish fighter for you, even though that person is not an undisputed fight, would you prefer to say Irish? No.
No.
So basically location and so don't matter to you.
No, I don't care where you're from.
You don't care.
I don't. It literally
Hey, Uncle, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, King. Go ahead. Talk to me.
Am I clear?
You're clear.
All right, I don't want to interrupt. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
You're clear, Virgin. Go ahead. Who's this coming in here? Who the fuck is that? Hey, who is this?
I'm glad he was sleeping.
Who's this? Is this D? Is my shit on mute? Is nobody hearing me?
I hear you.
Is that D? Hello?
I think it's D. It's got to be D.
My break home stream.
Oh, well, hey. Black, go ahead, man. Go ahead, Black. Is Black on still? Is it my shit?
Oh, you're fired, God. You're fired.
Is Black still there?
No, I don't hear him.
What the fuck is going on, bro? Like, I don't know if this is D or not. Black's gone. Anywho, whatever, man. My goddamn stream has now gone. Yeah,
Hey,
Black's cut out now. Black's cut out now. You got Conor McGregor here asleep.
Yeah.
Hey, what is going on? So anyway, we were talking about location on arrival, because it seems to be a lot of this is based on location and personal prejudices, which is fine, obviously. Which is fine, obviously. Everybody likes a guy from their region, from their country. They're gonna watch it more. But do some things about the sport supersede the personal prejudices? Should that supersede it, or is it always based on how well it's sold?
In perfect morality, it should, but in the way things have gone, no, personal prejudices seem to sell, I guess. Like, people are biased with Canelo, so to them, that he has one of the larger fan bases, so they're making it as though all of his fights are big fights. Not all of them are big fights. Some of them are okay.
Black, you back?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. No.
Okay, my friend. Thank you.
Go ahead, brother Black.
Well, don't get it yet. All right. No, man. I'm just tuning in. I'm listening in. I was just trying to get to a better area and shit, man. I don't want to sound robotic. Man. Fuck all that.
You were sounding bad, bro. Like you were breaking
robotic for emotions. Fuck that.
Yeah. You're breaking up. Hold on. Who's this again? Let's see if Conor McGregor woke up. Who's this? D.
Right. It's fucked up, dog. Y'all niggas gotta show some respect, man. They ain't a combat sports, man. Shit, McGregor.
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, D. What's up, man?
I don't know, bro. I was
shit
talking
about
last time. Y'all couldn't hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Man, why are you doing Conor McGregor like that, man? Don't do that, D.
That's the new promotion, son.
Don't
That's
do
the
that,
new
man.
promotion for the whiskey, son.
That's disrespectful, man. Don't do that, man.
I mean, that's how
And
good his whiskey is, fam. Knock you right out, son.
D, the
That
topic
whiskey is
is
disgusting.
D, the topic is what constitutes a big fight in boxing now? Because I'm hearing that certain undisputed fights are not big fights anymore. And I'm really trying to figure out the mind of a boxing fan. Y'all are much more educated on boxing than me. And I need to know what constitutes a big fight in D. Jefferson's mind.
How much we talk about it, how much the social media platforms talk about it constitute the biggest fight. I really believe that. Because look at this dumb shit with Ryan Garcia. Everybody clamoring on and on about it, though. Even me, although I was speaking against it. Whether you speaking against it, whether you speaking for it, if everybody talking about it, there you go. I mean, look, everyone's talking about Fury Joshua. Like the more people talk about the fight, to me, that's what constitutes the big fight, man. And
So the
it's
big
not just
fight,
America; it's like worldwide. The fights that people talk about the most, like,
do big
gotta,
fights necessarily need a championship belt attached to it?
not if we talk about them. I mean, I don't really think so. I mean, I don't know, man. Like this era of all of these fucking belts and championships, but they kind of mean something to the casual fans. And then you have a lot of sports pages and channels like they talk about these fighters with the belt, just like Demetrius Andre. I don't put up probably maybe 4 or 5 videos of about him in 2 or 3 months. And so he's not really fighting the best guys for whatever reason. Like he got the same problem like Crawford and some other guys got. They just can't land the fights.
Mm.
But people still talk about him because he has a belt. If he was just some average schmo without a belt with the same resume, nobody would talk about him.
Okay.
You
So,
feel
so
me?
in some cases, the belt does help keep your name alive, but
Right.
doesn't necessarily constitute. Because let me ask you something: Spence versus Ugas. There's 3 belts attached to that. Is that a big fight?
Not really. I mean, it's a big fight for the implications that Spence could be 3 belt unified, right? And then it'll be the last step is basically him and Crawford. So the implications of the fight, but not the two fighters. Like, Spence is known, but Ugas been getting shitted on a lot, really. But even still, it's not like people have been talking about him. You know what I mean? Through this whole Manny Pacquiao and Ryan Garcia situation, I think I was one of the few people bringing Ugas up as a point in it. While everybody hollering Manny not holding nothing up, I'm like, well, what about Ugas? The fuck is he, chopped liver? Like he could get a shot at that title and he'll be willing to fight Bud or Spence. Next thing you know, they strip him and he get ready to get in a fight with Spence. But I was the
Mm.
only motherfucker putting videos about that angle out at, everybody else was just like, oh man, he can do what he want. Ryan, if any other of the young guns had that opportunity, but like he ain't holding nothing up. Spencer and Crawford won't fight. And I'm like, what about Ugas? I mean, what the fuck? Is he just there for no reason? Don't he matter? Like,
Mm.
so, it's about what you talk about. Now, if the platforms, me and IG platforms and Facebook platforms, if they were all screaming, hey man, what about Ugas? Then maybe that would have came about quicker, right? But it was only one channel, as far as I'm concerned, screaming about the Ugas factor. Everybody else was talking about Manny and fucking Ryan. So Ryan's popularity is blowing up. Manny's already popular, and the whole attention is just what's going to happen with Manny and Ryan. Spencer and Crawford ain't going to fight. So fuck Ugas, Porter, and everybody else. Like, what I'm saying? That's just how the boxing world is, fam. So what we talk about, I believe, what we talk about the most, that's what's gonna get the. That's why they using us, bro. These fucking promoters and networks, they're using the social media platforms to push their shit. They put these little bullshit uh, articles or these little bullshit ideas out, and then people jump on them and run with it. And then that's what we're talking about. Whether it's true or not, whether the fight's going to really happen or not, all the channels, all the pages are talking about it. So now that's the thing, right? It's just,
I got I got Jalik, the leader here. What's up, Jalik?
Iron King, what's popping? Shout out to Mark. Shout out to D Jefferson. And whoever else is on the thing. What constitutes a big fight? That's a lot of what D said is true because um a lot of fights technically you don't need a belt. Like Ryan Garcia, whether you like it or not, Ryan Garcia and Tank ain't really no belt. I don't count secondary belt, so I don't count that. So I wouldn't be for a belt. So that would be a big fight. But then you got fights that are big, but it might not be as popular too. And then some fights are meaningful, but will it get the popularity like the Ugas and the Arrow fight? Um, I'm not sure how pay-per-view wise it would do or ratings wise, but it is a meaningful fight in the sense where it'd be for 3 belts. So D is right though. The boxing lives on the internet. We be on here talking about boxing more than the mainstream media. Mainstream media don't care about boxing because it don't bring them no money. They don't care. They want money. So only a
Hold
few
on.
fights bring them money. So
Oh, hold on. Let me bring in IOTB and I'll let you continue, Jalik. IOTB, what's up, man? Morning.
Man, shout out to everybody on here, man, from that 214 to across the pond. Shout out to the host, Iron King 26. Shout out to Mark Unrival. Shout out to D Jeff. And shout out to the most articulate man when it comes to speak, Jalik, the leader. I
bro,
agree. I agree with Jalik. You know, when he say it's not a big fight, meaningful. That's the better word to use with Earl versus Ugas. It's a meaningful fight just because it's belts on the line. But Iron King, you this been a great live, and you put out an excellent point when you said, do you need belts to make a big fight? And I'm like, no, you don't need belts to make a big fight because like the most articulate man when it comes to speaking in Jalik, he just stated, Tank versus Ryan Garcia. You know, they really don't got no belts, really. I mean, and people looked at that as a big fight. It's just about the matchup to me. Like I misquoted. I thought I heard you say David Benavidez and Caleb Plant, but you said Caleb Smith and Caleb Plant, right?
No,
Okay, Caleb Smith.
I said Callum Smith versus David Benavidez.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought I heard David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. That's why I said yes, Iron Cone.
Okay.
That's a
Well,
big.
hey,
That's
well, damn that. Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez. Is that a big fight?
it's a big fight, bro. Like these dudes got mirror behind the fight. Like if you look at each clip, the last thing Caleb Plant said to David Benavidez was he was a little boy. Like that's some disrespectful shit to say. So I think you don't need no belt for no big fight.
you don't.
It's just to think about it. Think about it. Even though we shit on Deontay Wilder, let's be honest. For the coward acts he done made, if Deontay Wilder come back and fight like a guy like a Charles Martin or a Dylan White, it's a extremely huge fight.
There you go.
You understand what I'm saying, Iron Cone?
I do. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm done.
Hold on.
Another
Hold on. Let me get to Mark because Mark went quiet. Mark, you still there, man?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just letting people talk, man.
Oh, okay.
I don't interrupt people while they talk.
Because I want to get Jalik in. You want to interject before anything?
I was gonna say, LTBA bring up a good point. Just think at 168 with no belts on the line, Jamal Charlo versus David Benavidez. So it's like characters. A lot of times belts is like it matters, but at the same time, it don't really matter. So if they gonna have the belts there, people use it for leverage, and that's how they negotiate behind the scenes. But David Benavidez at 168 versus Jamal Charlo, that will be very, very intriguing. That's a big fight, actually.
I got you. See, there you go. So we're understanding where belts come into play and when they don't come into play. All right. So Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder would be a very big fight. That'd be a massive fight in America, to be honest. Be huge. another fight that would actually be quite big could probably be probably even above that of Errol Spence and Ugas, right? It'd be above this. Well, probably definitely above it will be Keith Thurman and what's his face? Sean
Daniel
Porter in a rematch.
rematch. Okay, yeah, that would be good. Yep.
Keith and Sean in a rematch probably be bigger than Ugas and Spence in a 3-belt unification. Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman rematch. Manny Pacquiao Porter would all be bigger than Spence Ugas. But none of those fights are title fights.
Question for y'all. I see Sean Porter again saying publicly that he's pursuing the Terence Crawford fight.
That's
that
great.
He's pursuing that fight. Let me ask you something. Terence Crawford versus Sean Porter versus Spence versus Ugas. Which is a bigger fight?
Terence Crawford versus Sean Porter.
Yeah.
Over 3 belts.
Yeah.
You know why? You know why? Because, and this is no knock against Ugas. Sean Porter just a bigger name than him.
It's the build up to it. A lot of times people be saying stuff over and over. They like Porter got a chance to beat Bud, so people really believe it. And the way he fight, he's real rugged, and people want to see because a lot of people has convinced themselves that Crawford hasn't really beat no welterweight. They're really under this impression, so that's what makes it bigger, and people gonna be speaking on it. And Ugas is a tough fight too. And I was telling people that I see what they're doing from a business perspective, but it's actually not even a smart move. Like if I was managing Earl, I would tell Ugas to fight Crawford, fight by managing because he don't want to go in the fight in a war. Even I say he gonna beat Ugas, but he's gonna take unnecessary punishment because I don't want to hear no excuses when he fight Crawford. That's actually not a good smart. It's actually not smart from a increasing your chances to win move. It's kind of
but it is smart in a sense because see what would be not smart. What would it be smart? I like where you're going with that because that's what I want to happen. I want Bob Arum to come in and snatch this fucking fight from up under this arrogant ass Earl Spence. Wing snatch this fight from up under him. Like Bob Arum need to get this fight, bro, so we can stop hearing all this other shit. Earl Spence saying, and this and this and that and that. Make this more even playing field. Iron King, don't you Iron Kong 26? Don't you think that the best thing to do to get Earl and them to be quiet with all these excuses and obstacles they sending Terence Crawford on is for Bob Arum to somehow, some way come in and snatch this fight?
That is it would be the ultimate coup. Like if he gets this fight from under PBC under Spence, that would be.
If they done that, that would be crazy because if they couldn't get if the 7 million was legit with Andrade and Jamal Charlo and he ain't take that, so I think Al Heyman has to sign off on everything. So Al Heyman, they think they doing it to get more leverage, but even if you got more, I think he'll have more leverage than Bud Crawford, even with both of them having 2 belts.
Hey man, you gotta take $100 million, man.
He's taking more wear and tear, and his chances of winning is gonna go down.
Hold on for a second. Hold on.
Go ahead, D.
Stop that nonsense, fam.
Bro, if you don't
explain
yourself, bro.
Hold up.
How many words have I said, Jalik?
None.
Damn, bro. Let me talk, fam. So I think, okay, let me not come off so aggressive. Let me not say stop that nonsense. But I totally disagree. Okay, I think it's a smart move business-wise because why the hell, and look, I'm not in favor of it because we already talked about this before. I would rather Crawford get the second goddamn belt. That way, both of them got 2 belts. Crawford got his accolades, so it's no argument. Just get in there and fight. Now 50-50 is coming, all of that. So I would rather Crawford get the belt. But you cannot say it's not smart. Because number one, you the only one sitting here talking about this beating down, wear down shit. They said that shit about Danny Garcia when the dude came off the accident. And what did he say? He said, I'm okay. I found out in fucking sparring, I'm okay. So stop with all of this baby and shit. You're not babying yourself. Why are you up here babying? I don't know.
I'm not
It might
babying him.
be tough for him. Hold up,
I'm not
hold up.
babying him.
I don't know. Okay,
Hold
let
up
me
real
talk.
quick, Julie.
I don't know. It might be tough for him. He taking all this tough fight. That man ain't worried about no fucking tough fight, fam. So he gonna take on Ugas. He feel like he can beat Crawford's ass. You hear what he said? I will beat your little ass, regardless of what anybody else think. A lot of people think Crawford will whoop his ass, but he think he'll whoop his ass. He's not worried about no fucking easy fights. He wants to take these. And where it makes it smart for business is why the fuck would Al Heyman and them let Bob get that belt when collecting money off of 3 belts? It is no argument. He will have to get the lion's share, and Crawford and Aaron will have to deal with that once he gets that 3rd belt. So business-wise, it makes sense for them to chase that fight. I said it at first. It's going to be a race to Ugas. As soon as he get elevated, it'll be a race to Ugas.
And let me say something else to Iron King. From a business perspective, right? Say if his pay-per-view's been trending, it's been decent, it's been going down. So you know that if they put that fight against Ugas on there, and he's trying to make himself a big pay-per-view guy, and then he do 100,000, that's not going from a negotiating side point. They're gonna be like, well, he only done 100,000 with Ugas or something like that. So it's not like his pay-per-view sales is going upward. So that's another reason from a business perspective, it might not be there. Now, I'm not protecting him at all. I'm just saying from increasing his chances of winning. I want to see Crawford fight Earl Spence. But let me ask you guys this. Do you really think it's smart for Anthony Joshua to fight Joe Joyce before he fights Tyson Fury? That's dumb.
Hold on real quick.
That's not
putting. Can I say something real quick? Because I agree with you and D. I disagree with what D saying more because this is my perspective of the reason why. Because think about it. PBC don't give a fuck about your Janus Ugas. If I'm your Janus Ugas, I think of that day when I fought Sean Porter and I beat him, and PBC and officials, my name wasn't big enough. The next fight they wanted to see was Earl Spence versus Sean Porter. I think about that shit. If I'm your Danish Ugas, I think about how he was the mandatory, but guess what? Earl chose Ocampos over him. I think about that if I'm your Danish Ugas. And I also think about Earl's recent statements he just said. Now you got something I want. Hold up. So you mean to tell me I was your mandatory and all that other stuff, and you didn't want to help me feed my family then? But now, since I've been elevated to super champ, now I got something you want. I think about how Earl Spence shurned him. I think about how PBC got him when that Porter versus his fight went on, because that fight could have went to Ugas. I actually thought, in my opinion, Ugas won that fight. So PBC don't mean no good for Ugas. If I'm Ugas, I put all that into play.
Yeah.
Hold on, Angelique. Matt, get in there if you got anything to say, please, Matt.
Yeah, in terms of like, if it's a big should he take the fight? Of course he should. I mean, the idea that it's not a big fight because they could plumb it on pay-per-view, it just assumes it's automatically on pay-per-view. They might not. They might be smart. They could do this on Fox Sports.
Yeah.
And if they did it on Fox Sports and they did 2.53 million views, they could then go in with more leverage. 3 belts and 3 million views with more pay-per-views as well. They could do stuff like that. Don't be surprised.
Cheers.
They could. But
ITV, mute for me, please, because I'm hearing a conversation. ITV, mute.
You're going to have to mute.
Hey, ITV, I'm going to have to mute you because we're hearing all the conversation, bro. All right, for anybody who's joining us in the chat room late, the conversation is what constitutes a big fight in your mind? Do certain things in the sport just supersede personal tastes and personal prejudices? Do certain things just supersede that, or is it all about personal taste? Right. The question on the table is Sean Porter versus Terence Crawford. Sean Porter said he has his father, I think he's his manager, pursuing that fight. Okay. You have, what's his name? You have your Denny Ugas ramping up to fight, well, supposedly going to fight Errol Spence. right? Which of those two is a big fight? One has 3 belts, one has one. So I got Coach K coming on. Coach K, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up?
What's up, Coach K?
All
What's,
good.
you can
Coach
hear me?
K, you heard the
What's
title? Yeah,
good,
we hear you,
Coach K?
bro.
What's good, fam?
What's going on, all y'all? What's up, man? Good to hear y'all.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so
Stop it, man.
you heard the topic. What constitutes, in Coach K's mind, a big fight? Does a belt need to be involved? Does undisputed matter anymore? Because I've been told recently that undisputed fights are not big fights.
Mm.
Okay? So I need to know all of a sudden what has happened in boxing fans, because y'all are much more knowledgeable than me. What has happened? What now is a big fight? Do personal preferences matter so much? Mark said it depends on how well the promoter can sell the fight and make us bite. D said depends on how much attention social media gives the fight. Um, Jalik, I think, said probably the same thing, like how much we talk about these goddamn fights. And some people said belts don't matter. Black said belts matter. What do you think, okay?
I
What's a
think
big fight to you?
I think they all are correct. And what I mean by that is that it's like, remember in high school you had the best dress, the most likely to succeed, the best all around. When you in boxing, you have to have that best all around person to be a part of the ingredients of a big fight. One or two of the combatants have to be considered all around the best at some type of area. Like when Canelo and Mayweather fought, Canelo was considered the best at 154, even though there was some dispute there, but he still was considered that guy. And the same thing with Mayweather. Mayweather was considered to be that guy in all of boxing. That's why you see Mayweather and Pacquiao have such huge fights, because they're usually considered the best all around in boxing. Same thing with Canelo. And the pattern just hold true. Now, let me see, is this fight with Ugas and Earl Spence a huge fight? It's a big welterweight fight. I don't think it's a big fight in boxing, but I think it is a big welterweight fight, which you know what I'm saying will do justice to.
So you saying basically then the Aerospace versus Ugas fight is big for the division because it has ramifications in terms of who has the power in the division.
I don't know if it'd be power. I mean, because a lot of guys implement that in there and they want to do the politics. If that's part of it, that's part of it. But I'm looking at it like, okay, it's a big fight in welterweight because it's consolidating the belts, and it's getting us close to a unification and undisputed. And
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
that's what makes that fight big on a divisional level. Now, is Ugas and Earl Spence big enough superstars for that fight to bust outside of 147 and bring in 2.3 pay-per-views? That has to be determined. Right now I ain't seen no evidence in that, so I just know they're huge at 147. Earl Spence is a good 147 pounder, but and so is Ugas, but that doesn't translate to big fights in boxing. You can have big fights in the division, but not big fights in boxing. They don't have to be the same.
Any comments on what Coach K just said? Anybody?
No, I agree because it sounds like a whole lot of basically about what I was saying. I do think like I don't think that this is a fight we should expect to bust the charts on pay per view or nothing like that. But at the same time, for the welterweight division and the implication of 3 belt champion and closing the gap between 4 belt undisputed and so much. So many things happening in that nature for the division. Yeah, it's a big fight, bro. It's big,
If they're
especially
smart,
since Spence is involved. Just like Coach K was saying, that guys involved. But go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm just saying, if they're smart, they'll just put it on Fox Sports, man. That's the smartest thing they can do. Because
Yeah,
that'll really more so promote Errol if he were to win the fight. Even if it's a tough fight, it'll promote him because it should be exciting if it's tough, right? It should be
yeah.
exciting if it's tough because Errol's an exciting type of guy. That would really promote him versus Crawford really well because it'd be to a larger audience. If you put it on pay per view, you're automatically lowering your audience and your audience retention.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that one because I think Caleb Plant done over 2 million views. So if that one done now, I know Earl spends.
1.3, Jalik.
Oh, it's 1.3. Oh, okay. I just
On
seen the
Fox?
2 million.
On what?
I need
FS2, FS1?
Fox on regular Fox. It was just on regular. But
Jalik with the Mike Carpenter numbers.
oh no, I just seen 2 million. And just I don't think I read the whole number. I was like, wow, he got 2 million. And it was like the biggest fight in 13. I was like, look at Caleb Plant. But I agree with Mark. I think they should do it on regular. But now that goes to show you what the money is. Because I heard I think it was talk that Earl they wanted a regular fight to be on Earl, but he still went on pay-per-view. I think it was the Porter or Danny fight. I don't know. So they're gonna have to figure that out behind the scenes. But it's a lot of big fights out there, bro, that don't have no belts. It's the storylines, it's the personality. We know Wilder versus Dylan White. It's been building for years. So even without belts, that's a big one. Usyk versus Joe Joyce is big because they got their little rivalry going on, and it's like 50-50 in a lot of people's eyes. It's so many fights out there that's cooking up, and was Estrada versus a lot of people won't watch the small guys, but to some people that really watch the one, that Estrada versus Chocolatito was super big. Like people want to see that Estrada versus Chocolatito rematch. So yeah.
There you go. Coach K is back. Coach K is back. Jalik, I realized you put up Joe Joyce versus Usyk, and you said that's a big fight for you.
Yeah.
Explain to me why you think that's a big fight.
Because you know what, I've been like always liked Joe Joyce as a fighter because it's like I don't know, he just got something about him. He's better than what he appears to be, and his storyline is nice. I've been following his storyline; it's real inspiring with his mom. I don't know, having a parent or whatever that's whether handicap or whatever. That's like really inspiring with his mom being blind and things like that, and the fact that he's slow and stiff, but he actually is athletic. So it's like he's I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then he just real determined. He's like a hard worker type. He's like a blue collar type guy. He's like how Joe Smith is at light heavyweight. He has that type personality, and he's very tough. And then Usyk, I like Usyk as well because you got to get a dude credit. He went it on the road, and he want to fight guys that's 40, 50, 60, big punchers way bigger than him. So you can't also deny the fact that he was undisputed and the fact that the first fight was close. So you're like, okay, how these guys going to do right now? So that's why that fight right there is big. Also, is very meaningful because I think it's going to be allegedly for the interim WBO. So they're going to be big names. Like the winner is going to be solidified name to keep the heavyweight momentum going. So I like that fight right there.
The winner is the official #1 contender to Eddie Fury / Joshua winner.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a real meaningful fight, and that's Joe Joyce is not the type guy that you want to fight at heavyweight, especially if you was about to fight for undisputed. Fighting Joe Joyce would be stupid, bro. That wouldn't be smart. You better fight somebody like somebody else.
Hey, the last Yoda. Let me tell you something, man. You're gonna have to put up a link or some source with this 1.2 million for Wilder Fury 2, right? Yeah, I'm not going. No.
I didn't do no 1.2. It did like 890 or something like that.
Oh, it did. Oh, okay, yeah.
It did between 850 and 895. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Fucking 1.2. Where you get those?
He got that from the bottom of Michael Coppinger's balls, bro. That's where he got that.
There it is. Another Mike Carpenter number.
But the A side stuff, if he gonna be A side, I think he'd probably be A side even with Crawford getting 2 belts. But the thing about it is that A side stuff it'll change if he signed with Al Heyman because it's crazy how Mikey Garcia and all those other guys appear to get 50-50 with Earl. So if he signed with Al Heyman, then whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? I think that gap will go down, and they're just because I don't know that what they call it that hidden money that they get on the back end money. I don't know what it is, so I can't really. I don't know what the back end money is. So
for whoever just joined the conversation, I want to know from y'all what constitutes a big fight, a major fight in your mind, since people are now telling me undisputed don't matter. And I really need to know what's going on in the boxing world these days.
Yeah.
Because if that don't matter no more, someone gonna have to explain to me what the hell is a big fight in boxing? And can a fight be made between two people with no belts and it be a big fight? You know what I'm saying? I didn't get an answer from D or Mark or Coach K as to which is the bigger fight. I don't think I got which is the August versus Spence, Porter versus Crawford. Porter says he's still pursuing that fight. This is an interesting question, and I want to answer to y'all from y'all. Which is the bigger fight?
I think
Which would you
okay.
pay for?
Both. Me personally, I would pay for both. But I think from a fan's perspective, a boxing fan's perspective, Ugas and Spence. No, that's not going to be the bigger fight. It's going to be Crawford and Porter. I mean, listen, Crawford. We've seen Spence go through the fire, right? He's been through the fire with Porter. He's been through the fire with Danny Brooke. You know what I mean? We've not seen Crawford go through the fire yet, and Porter's going to take him through some things that none of these other guys he fought at 147 was going to take him through, right? So that's a more intriguing fight for the casual fans. Could be the Spence fight because Errol Spence is popular and he'll be collecting 3 belts. See, so casual fans is, I guess, where the belts and the sales and all of that kind of ties in because Floyd and these guys that market these fights use those belts, as leverage to market to promote these fights. So I mean, for the casuals, money maybe. I don't know, bro. Spence and those 3 belts matter at 147. The implications of having those 3 belts. You know, one more fight to have now.
Mm.
He cleaned out and he would have literally. Let's just hypothetically say he beats Crawford, right? Spence would have literally cleaned out the division. If Crawford beats Spence, he beat Spence for 4 belt undisputed. He didn't technically clean out the division because he didn't fight any of the other top guys. If Spence does it, he literally cleaned out the division. He fought all the top guys to get those belts, which Crawford would not have. So a lot of that matters in the end, bro.
Got you.
And that's just how I look at it.
Mark.
I personally think Terrence and Porter is a bigger fight. Even though it's not got the same amount of belts, I think they did it really well. A lot of people, their biggest gripe with Bud is he hasn't fought the best competition in throughout his career. Like he's beat who's in front of him and he's done really well and cleared out a division, but the division itself is deemed to be weak by a lot of the majority of fans, right? Sean Porter, a 2-time welterweight champion, a consensus top 5 welterweight in everybody's opinion. That would be by far the hardest fight of his career at welterweight, at least. And it would be a pretty big fight. As far as Ugas and Spence goes, most people would say Ugas and Spence could probably be a difficult fight for Spence, but nearly everyone's going to pick Spence to win that. Whereas with Porter and Bud, you're going to have differences of opinion on that. Because Bud, he's not been in there with a guy who might be physically stronger than him like that. Porter might be physically stronger than him. And that's going to be an interesting thing. So for me, it's the bigger fight. It's also a harder one to call.
Coach K.
Yeah, outside the box real quick, this is the kind of dilemma they want us to be in to create bigger fights. That's why they're not so quick to pull the trigger on Undisputed, because they could simply just say, okay, how about this? Crawford versus Earl Spence, and on the undercard or the co-main event could be Ugas versus Porter rematch for a shot at the title, if that's something that could happen, and that'll stack the card. But they deliberately keep us in this type of flow so that we can be divided welterweight division, so they can milk the division. The bigger fight probably gonna be with between the two. I would say Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford, and that's mostly because when I compare Sean Porter to Ugas, Sean Porter has a lot more going on. He's more vocal. He's more of a face of boxing. He's all around, and that stuff plays a big deal in it. So it's basically like Terrence Crawford has a great, beautiful opponent. That's vocal, that's going to talk. He's going to show up. How Sean Porter is. Ugas speaks Spanish. He doesn't seem to have a big Spanish market. It's not like he's like Canelo and he's bringing a whole bunch of Latinos or Cubans or whatever the case may be in with him. So it's really gonna be all on Earl Spence just against a tough game, respectable opponent. But it's not like Ugas is this popular guy. So bigger fight. If you talk about numbers, then it's gonna probably end up being Crawford and Sean Porter compared to Ugas versus Earl Spence.
If you look at a situation like the Amir Khan versus Kell Brook fight in the UK, this is years back. None of them really had no belts at that time, and that fight would have been huge in the UK, right? They didn't have no belts, right? That's what the question I'm asking. Like, do belts, matter ultimately, or does the name of the people? Because that's the case. I think somebody was on saying they're not really rocking with Ryan Garcia stuff. Ryan Garcia versus Tank, they have names, and that's a big fight. That fight will probably be bigger than a lot of these established boxers and all of that. Does that concern y'all that things like championship belts and whatnot, even if you have two popular champions, a fight like Ryan and Tank, that really is for nothing. Really is for nothing. Would still be bigger than that fight. Does that concern y'all as boxing fans?
I don't really necessarily concern me. See, it's their jobs to make the undisputed because I like undisputed as well. I want to see Tiafimo versus Devin Haney, and I think a lot of people want to see that fight as well. So you can have both. You can have Tiafimo versus you know, you can have both of them. But I see where you're going with that because I don't think it's in their best. I don't think the promoters a lot of times even want undisputed. It depends on each situation if they can corner the market and depend on the popularity of the person if they even want undisputed or not. Because especially if they got two guys in the same weight class, they will prefer to have sometimes keep it separate. So I like undisputed. It's interesting.
Bro, I think like I think about it like this. Okay, so with Tank and Ryan, the concerning part, if there is any, wouldn't be because that fight rivals a title fight. I think the concerning part would be or should be because neither of these two have really fought anyone worthy. So if it was two opponents without belts, but they've been through wars, they've proven themselves, they fought worthy opponents. Cool. I'm with that. But neither of these two have done a goddamn thing that's noteworthy to be honest. Now, on the flip side of that, if you the champions matter too, right? Because in all actuality, you could have two worthless fucking fights, whether these two guys are holding belts or not. What if it's Rolly Romero and with putting that bullshit belt he got on the line, right? Who cares? So there's a title fight, then there's Tank and Ryan. I gotta be honest. I'd rather see Tank and Ryan than to see Rolly maggle around in the damn ring. With come on, bro. So I mean, this era of boxing, in certain instances, the belts matter depending on how the guys have gotten them, defending them, who they fought, and then sometimes the belts just don't matter. No disrespect, and I'm not even coming at you this time, Jalik. But if you got your belt in a vacant title fight and you have not defended the damn thing well since you had the belt, how important is it that you defend your title unless it's against somebody significant? And that's the problem that Demetrius Andre had. If you defended your belt against Luke Keeler, nobody cares. If you're unifying your belt, okay, now it matters. But
KD, I'm not
hold on,
his
Jalik. Hold
manager,
on,
bro. You
Jalik.
can say
Just
whatever you want.
let me finish.
Yeah, man.
So if it's a guy like Kazuta Ioka or Anoe, and then they're defending their belt, now it matters because they fought people. Their wins are noteworthy. They've defended well. They've unified. So now they want to see what this champion wants to do. So some champions, nobody really cares what they do unless they're fighting another champion. Therefore, you can have a fight of two guys with no belts on the line, and it would be more significant because the champion's fucking worthless as hell.
Mark. Is Mark there? Mark gone?
You're on mute.
Okay, Coach K, go ahead,
Oh, I'm
man.
sorry, I'm on mute.
Go ahead,
My
man.
bad.
Go
No,
ahead, Mark.
I didn't have anything to add to that.
Oh,
Let Coach go.
um, I mean, far as the belts, the belts are going to be important to who the belts are important to. It seems like it's a shrinking group, and that's just us, the hardcore fans who track that. The boxers have told us on numerous occasions the belts don't matter. The sanctioning bodies told us they can make as many belts as they want. Floyd Mayweather led the charge and told everybody the belts don't matter. Riddick both threw the belt in the trash can. Like, so everybody say there's too many belts, which has always been too many belts, but that's just the way it goes. So the belts it will be important based on who makes them important. Like and again, when Mike Tyson ran through everybody and collected all the belts were important again. When Roy Jones was in pursuit of all the belts were important again. When Marvin Hagler was undisputed, the belts were important. So it just depends on who commands and who controls boxing, man, and what's going on at the time. The most all-around boxer with the most popularity and making the best moves to make something cool and get money out of it, and it is showing to be a benefit, then people will follow that lead. But Floyd Mayweather is the most recent cat to kind of be a mainstream star in boxing and show you that he can maneuver around the belts and that he don't have to pay the sanction fee. You don't have to pay politics with the belts. And that's where you got your Tanks and everybody who admired Floyd in his other generation. They taking that same approach. But if we get a boxer like a Terrence Crawford who's pushing for undisputed, if he comes in 147 and he was to attain undisputed, then we may have a different look because he would have smashed the guys who are popular enough to have an opposite position. So if he comes in welterweight, especially from 140, cleaning it out, being undisputed, if he comes to 147 and beats Earl Spence and Keith Thurman and the rest of these guys and have an undisputed reign, then we'll probably look at it different, just straight up. And Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they're helping with that, even though I know they're heavyweights, but they're helping with that. Usyk has helped with that as well too. So it just depends on who's popular at the time and what's popular at the time.
Mm-hmm. You're right, bro. Fighters
I
got
mean,
belts, man.
so, go ahead, Jelly. Sorry, you're
I
talking.
was just saying, you're right. Like Coach K is right. It's like whoever, because 168 wasn't really popping as much, but when Canelo moved up, it became more popular. And it's like, okay, what is Canelo going to do to get 168? Now, the only thing with that is his road to 168 is the guys that's in front of him doesn't really present as much of a challenge. So the eyeballs on the fight, it would be like, yeah, it's undisputed, but it's like nobody's going to give Plant a chance and nobody's going to give Billy Joe a chance. So it's like the interest in the fight kind of dwindles in a sense because it's like these guys don't really have a chance to win. So that's why having certain opponents that bring a certain level of threat, the closer a fight is to being 50-50 where you're not sure who's going to win, makes in my opinion a lot of times makes it more interesting because you're like, well, I don't know who's gonna win because certain fights you like, bro, I really don't know who, like the Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. I be changing my mind every day. Like I really don't know. I really don't know. So interesting.
Hey, yo,
I mean,
I'm gonna close down in a little while. So go ahead, man, Mark. See what you're saying.
yeah, I was just as far as what's a big fight for me, just me specifically, not looking at fans and all this. It's whatever fight I think is gonna be the best one. Like I know that sounds really cliche and stupid or whatever, but when I look at Canelo and Saunders, I know Canelo has a large name, and I know that Saunders has an okay name in the UK, and I know that's bigger than Taylor Ramirez in terms of from a casual point of view, right? But I also know it's less competitive. I know Canelo will beat Saunders, even though Saunders does represent some difficult stall mesh or whatever, southpaw, whatever. He doesn't have enough power to keep the man off of him. But when I look at Taylor Ramirez, I know they're going to come forward. I know they're going to be toe to toe with each other. I know that Taylor may be more willing to go back foot than Ramirez because he's done it, whereas Ramirez isn't really known for being a back foot fighter. But I know there's going to be body punches, inside pocket fighting. I know that there's going to be mid range. I know there's going to be counter punches. I know all of that's going to happen at a very high octane pace for something that is literally a legacy defining fight in their careers, their respective careers, because that the winner of that's the biggest win of their career. Even though Taylor's the World Boxing Super Series champion, beat Regis Prograis in a final in a tournament, becoming undisputed in that division is bigger than becoming unified, right? And whereas with Canelo, this is just another a dot on the map of Canelo's resume. Really.
Yo,
And that's why it's bigger.
last words. Wrap up, y'all. Let me get off this.
Nah,
Get
thank
back to
you for coming on, man.
work.
Shout out to everybody in the chat and the panel, man. Peace out.
Coach K.
Yes, sir, man. It's always good to talk some boxing, man. I appreciate you guys. Let's keep pushing forward, keep dropping this content. I'm with you guys. I'm gonna be uploading some stuff this week. I just had some heavy classes to jump on top of. So I'll be back in here. I'm checking you guys out. All right, peace out.
Peace. Mark.
Yo, thanks for having me on, Kong. Sorry about earlier. Everybody in the chat, if you haven't hit the like button, be greatly appreciated to show promote the growth and visibility of Kong's channel. And also, if you're listening in on the playback, hashtag playback gang, if you're listening in, put down the reason below what constitutes a big fight for you. Do that. Definitely do that, because Kong
appreciate
definitely
that.
Take it easy.
Yeah, peace, Mark. D, you disrespectful to Connor, but go ahead, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, brethren. Yeah, good conversation. What does constitute a big fight? You know, I think that I want to leave at least to my fellow content creators. I think that we need to push the idea of what constitutes a big fight. That's the thing. Social media pages, platforms, boxing channels. The more we push what a big fight is, what boxing should be, that's what the fans will understand it is, because they come to us. ESPN and Fox, they don't talk about boxing. We do. They come to us. So for content creators, let's push the idea of what a big fight should, be. Then we'll set the standards.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you, brother D.
Appreciate you, fam.
Y'all tune into all these people channels, man. Mark Unrivals channels. You got Speaker Mind Sports stuff. For the love of sports, let's talk about it. Coach K always has good stuff. Jalik the leader has a lot of varied content. I like his stuff. And of course, the UGC and my guy IOTBA. Subscribe to all these people, man. People trying to push actual combat sports talk, and always gonna give you their true opinions, not try to push no narrative. Right. So thank y'all for joining me today. And the answer to your question, Jalik, about who gonna win with Fury and Joshua, I'm sorry, Fury and Oluwafemi. It's Oluwafemi by 6 round stoppage. All right. Peace.